my secret sauce on LinkedIn is I know as a subcontractor who the GCs are that I want to work with. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build out my profile, because if anybody's going to come look at me, I want them to know who I am, how to contact me, and what I'm about, right? Then I'm going to go to all those general contractors that I want to work for, and I'm going to connect with them, and I'm going to follow them, and then I'm going to see who the people are that I want to connect with there. And then I'm going to engage with posts. If I see Montana is sharing a new post and it's a project that you're really proud of, I'm going to say, wow, that's a fantastic job. Please keep us in mind for the next one you get.
Awesome. Yeah.
Because now
absolutely.
I've posted, you posted it, I've commented, and you're like, well, Liz, click on her profile, and now you're connected with me.
2016, we meet.
Mm-hmm.
You were with the Blue Book Network.
Yeah.
Which was pretty new to me at the time. I didn't know that there was a network filled with subcontractors. And we signed up as a general contractor for Montana Contracting at the time, which the program that we chose was a free program. But essentially, the platform allowed us to have the opportunity to be introduced to a wide array of subcontractors, most of which we had not done business with. I definitely remember, I know for sure that it connected us with two really good subs, right? One is Valley Mechanical, our friend Jimmy Bensavengo, who we still use to this day. He's my go-to HVAC subcontractor. So that in itself was well worth it. It definitely introduced me to Tompkins Excavating.
Oh yeah, Stacy.
We worked with them, and it was an awesome experience. Also, we just kind of haven't had projects within the same vicinity, or the timing hasn't aligned. But those guys are an A+ subcontractor. And then I think there may have been people who we had conversations with prior to that we also saw on the Blue Book. But essentially, your role, from my perspective, was. And so take this as a compliment a little bit, because I think this is where you differed from the other people who I had interacted with. You were kind of like the mother hen a little bit to a whole slew of subcontractors, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So if you can, talk to us a little bit about how you got started with Blue Book and what your role was in your time there.
It's funny. Before I even get into how I got there, I remember the first time I walked into the Montana office.
Yep.
Because it was a new territory for me, and initially everybody was a bit like, "Why is she here? Who is this person?"
Yeah.
So I know exactly that it was not the normal thing for Montana to go outside of the box that you guys were creating.
Yeah.
But my history of how I got to Blue Book is funny, I think, now looking back. But at 26 years old, I was definitely a lost soul. I actually went into the NYPD.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was going to be a police officer, not because I wanted to, walk the street and catch perps or anything. That was not who I was thinking I could be in the white shirt, bossing people around, making sure stuff got done. And that's, I saw a career, came from family of police officers. And in the academy, I was sworn in January of 2007. I did everything you had to do. There were some agility tests that I failed, and it was, okay, resign or get fired. And resign meant I could do the whole thing over again. And that was 6 months. And I was like, no. So then, I just kind of substitute taught and coached and figured myself out until a friend of mine said, "Are you looking for a job? My company's hiring." And I said, "Whatever it is, I don't care." And that was the Blue Book. And I signed up with them in October of 2009 in their data entry department.
Oh, wow.
So verifying phone numbers, faxes, anybody, just 100 calls a day. And, it's to anybody that isn't, I guess, comfortable with people or doesn't have that interpersonal skill. It was a very monotonous job. But I got to talk to people across the country. So I try to throw on a Southern accent and act goofy. And, that very quickly turned into working with our private projects with, at the time we called our I group. And my vertical market, I dealt with property managers, building owners, developers. And I was still at our headquarters office and finding out what private projects they had that I could give to our sales team so they could give to their contractors and say, hey, look what the Blue Book has.
Right.
And just so happened to be that our office shared the same office as the New York sales team. And so the sales manager, who I'll always credit to giving me this opportunity, Matt Moyers, he overheard me just too many times on the phone and said, I think you should do this like outside. And that was how that started in 2011.
Okay.
And my market that I was in, my territory I had was Lower Westchester and Connecticut in Fairfield County. I'm up in Northern Westchester. It was a great, I still am connected to a lot of the GCs from that area. A lot of my subcontractors still reach out to me. But just commute wise, it wasn't,
It was too much.
too much with 287, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I took over Rockland and Orange County as my territory.
Okay.
And that was also interesting because
Was it a lot different?
it's so much different.
It is, right?
It's so much different. Connecticut is Connecticut, right? Anybody that, when you talk about Connecticut, and I love Connecticut folks, but they are a certain type of contractor and there's different rules and every place has its own rules and licenses that are required or how they do business.
Yep.
And in Rockland, I mean, especially there's a lot of restrictions and it's very difficult sometimes for a contractor to make connections in Rockland County. And there's a huge population of the Orthodox Jewish community, which for so long in Rockland and Orange, I just, over learning about it, we're kind of left out of a lot of opportunity, but there's a lot of skilled contractors in Rockland and Orange.
Yeah.
And when I took over that market, they said, you're a woman, you're not Jewish. Nobody's going to want to do business with you. And I said, what does my gender or my religious belief have to do with the fact that I'm connected to the largest, the most active network of contractors in the country?
Yeah.
And if you're
You know your value.
right, if you're a skilled contractor and you have your stuff together, I have no qualms at all in connecting you to the GC that I built a relationship with and knows that I can give good referrals. And I doubled the size of that territory within 2 years and made President's Club trips and all the accolades that you want in sales. And so I kind of realized, like at that moment in 2016, like, I think I might actually be kind of good at this.
Yeah. Yep.
And it snowballed into a really wonderful career. I was there almost 14 years. It's seen me through marriage. It's seen me through both of my kids. And, I had some issues, even like with just like medical issues that because of my success at Blue Book actually helped me to be able to take care of myself. So I have tremendous respect for the company. It was a family-owned business. It was started in 1913 by the O'Malley family. And when Mr. O'Malley, rest in peace, but before he separated from the company, instead of making this privately owned business publicly shared, he sold the company to the employees.
Oh, wow.
So we were in this ESOP, an employee shared ownership program.
Yeah.
For about 7 or 8 years before, the merger and into Dodge became. And I kind of joke, like, I'm too young to retire. But again, another opportunity when we were bought and merged with Dodge. But I can't wait to retire because now I've got this lovely piece set up for my family.
Yeah. That's great.
So it really is.
Yep.
It was a blessing. It was something I never saw myself doing or getting involved into, but I have a lot of respect. And then just the friendships of the people that I made there that I'm still connected with, and the contractors. I mean, my current employer now, it was one of my customers.
So he was actually a member of Blue Book?
He was, when I took over Rockland. So I'm with RECON Construction now. And when I took over Rockland, Don and his partner at the time were separating. So we didn't connect at that moment. But he started to follow me on my social media on LinkedIn. And he reached out to me about a year or so into having this new territory and said, I want you to come talk to me. I like what you're doing. I like how you're connecting people. You're sharing videos. You're having introductions. You're bringing people to each other's offices. I respect that, and I think that that's really credible. That you're coming in and saying, "Hey, meet this person." And
Did LinkedIn train you on that, or was that kind of like your own?
no,
Yeah, yeah. It
yeah.
didn't
So,
look like that.
and I'd love to share about that too. About
Yeah,
because
please.
I think that LinkedIn, and I'm only recently on the paid version, like within the last month of being with Recon now. But prior to this, I've been on the free version of LinkedIn and being so successful with it. And it's very easy to do.
Definitely.
Um,
And so you were putting out a lot of content and videos of subcontractors that you worked for, and like you said, like introducing them to GCs and really trying to
yeah.
capture that whole experience, and putting yourself out there and vouching for a lot of people
Oh yeah.
when not a lot of people were putting that type of content out on LinkedIn at all. And
No,
I think, and it didn't seem like it was, a company driven initiative. It just seemed like this is
it's
what
me.
Liz does. It was just your
It's totally.
personality. Yeah. Yeah. Genuinely driven from a want to help the people that you were under your umbrella and in your territory. I think everybody
100%.
sensed that and felt it, you know?
Oh, thanks. And I'm glad because that's who I am. I have no other way of being, or if I try to, because I have no sales formal. I don't know if sales even has like a training that goes with it, but when I got into business development, I rode with four different mentors that I love these people from Blue Book, and each one of them had their own unique approach to things. One was very salesy, one was very sweet, one was very, take it or leave it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a little bit of this, take a little
Yeah.
bit of that, and then just sort of me came out. And one of the things that I still am always proud of is that I can go to bed at night, feeling like with a clear conscience, like I did the right thing, and I can
Yeah.
wake up because I'm also married to a contractor.
Yep.
And I know that the money you're going to give to me as your as your sales rep is money that you're taking away from your families and from your employees. So I want to make sure that I'm not selling you anything. I'm asking you, what are you looking for? Who do you want to connect with? And if I have it, then it's a no-brainer. It's like, well, you've just sold, you've bought it yourself, whatever you want to it
Yeah.
is.
Yep.
um
I think the difference also is that, one of the different approaches that, listen, we didn't deal with 100 people at Blue Book, but we dealt with a few. And you figured out really quickly the type of contractors that we wanted to work with and that I like to work with. And so
yeah.
anybody you ever brought to the table was actually a good fit for us.
Yeah.
You didn't try to pretend like this guy, like, and if I said, hey, I'm struggling with, some stucco subs right now. Who do you have? You would say, well, I think you're going to like this guy, and this is what his company's like, and this is how they do business. I think you might like this company a lot,
Yeah.
because they're a little more established and they have really good administrative support. But personality for personality, I'm going to
Yeah.
introduce you to both. But here's kind of like the pros and cons of each, right? So I
Yeah.
always kind of
And if
knew what I was getting, and that made me trust you. And you know, I didn't think that I was being sold anything or sold a
no.
subcontractor, because I'm very, very, very difficult to please when it
I
comes
mean,
to.
yeah, you never actually signed up with me, you
Yeah, yeah,
know.
yep. I
But
want to talk about that actually.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that's but I never walked away. Like the door didn't close
sure.
because Montana still brought so much value to my area.
Yep.
And did I name drop Montana? That I know Montana, and I've referred subs to Montana. Absolutely.
Good.
So, even if it didn't mean that you were a paid advertiser as a general contractor looking to, put your name in the spotlight,
Yeah.
but you still, and a lot of people will say that they only were with the Blue Book because of me.
Yep.
And it wasn't about the spotlight. It was, like you said, just bringing the right people together.
Yeah.
Whether it was somebody that signed up with me or somebody that signed up with my colleague PJ or John.
Yep.
Like Stacy was
Both
not
great guys, by the way, PJ and
right.
John. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep, yep, yep.
That's
So
what
look,
networking is.
this is how I always perceive the Blue Book, right? I always felt like the Blue Book was really there to provide support to the subcontractors first and foremost.
Mhm.
And then I felt like in order to do that, the Blue Book also had to make connections to developers and property managers, just like you said, as well as general contractors, because those property managers and developers are not handing jobs out to subcontractors for the most part. They're
Right.
hiring GCs. So I always felt like you were kind of like, not you, but Blue Book was trying to piece the puzzle together a little bit, but
Yeah.
it was mostly focused on the subcontractors. So for me, there was some, I had a lot of objections, which were,
Mhm.
one, I'm very picky about the subs that we work with. We're really relationship driven, and we have a really high standard because we do commercial work, but we also do really high end residential work. And so those aren't separate really divisions here.
Right.
So we needed to establish a sub base of very super high quality subs that could also produce for us, right? Which is sometimes that's a conflicting sort of,
Yeah.
hybrid subcontractor in
Yep.
ways.
And then sometimes the subs don't want to do it. They want to be
Yeah,
commercial. They want to be residential. They put themselves into a box.
that's right. And those guys don't work for us, which makes it
No.
more challenging for me to connect with the right
Yeah.
subcontractors,
Yeah, and Blue Book was, I mean, you're absolutely right, Matt. Blue Book was a directory. I mean, 100 years ago, the internet didn't exist. So it was a book
Yeah.
of subcontractors. And as a general contractor that was in a job site trailer without access to the internet, or, in his truck and, needed, to find a sub for, whether it's an, you know, emergency situation, or if it's, a new building, you could open up and you saw, okay, these are the contractors, and there was
Yep.
full pages. It was like a phone book of
Yeah. It
contractors.
literally is a phone book.
Yes.
I might have one a couple of
Everybody does.
I was looking through it the other day. I was looking for a Venetian plaster subcontractor because
Yes.
they're rare,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
does.
Yep.
But the GC side of it is something that it started off when it was like the architects, the engineers, the developers, the general contractors. Blue Book thought of itself as involved in every phase of construction, from pre-design, design, with the architect and the owner, all the way through down to the end user, the property manager that needs to get the parking lots, striped again every couple of years.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
if it's not a one size, I mean, essentially it is like a one-stop shop, but it doesn't fit for every business. And because of the model of Montana, it wasn't I need to pay to be a player in this game, but I can still be in this game. And that's one thing that should be really like respected about them, is that, even if you didn't pay necessarily, you still could access and make the connections.
Yeah, which I really liked about Blue Book as well, because it's not like I had no interaction with it. Like you said, we've definitely made connections in Blue Book for sure. I wanna get an understanding of, like, from your purview, the subcontractors who you saw gain the most from the network, or use the network, to their advantage the most. Like,
How are
what
they the
did
most
they?
successful?
Yeah, like let's say today, right now, the subcontractors who are in Blue Book or a network like Blue Book, like, what is your advice to them in terms of changing their approach, or prescribing something that can help them make really visible,
Yeah.
visible impact on their business development?
Absolutely. And it's not just Blue Book, right? Like that market of lead sourcing,
Yep.
whether it's Blue Book or your Plan Hub, or any of those, sites that are out there. Essentially, if you want to be competitive as a subcontractor, you're going to probably have to invest in a couple of platforms. Not because, it needs to take all your money. It's because of the general contractor now. The general contractor is getting wined and dined by each of these to say, hey, bring us your projects. We've got the best subs. We've got all of this. And they have a lot of services. And that, I'm sure, because I think you might even still be on a couple,
Yep.
right? So as a subcontractor, you need to evaluate each of those platforms to, do I like to do a lot of public? Do I like to do a lot of private? Do I do big jobs? Do I do little jobs? Do your research, know your business, and know who your client is that you want to go after. and then have meetings with each of those companies to say, okay, you know what, I think that I want to sign up with you, and I want to sign up with you. And the companies that are successful in those platforms, in any of those platforms, are the ones that have follow up. So the general contractor, is, I don't want to say you have it easy, Matt, but you have a project, the owner wants you to bid them a job, you upload your plans, your specs, your scope of work, and you send out the net. Now, what does the subcontractor do? The subcontractor is, for a lot of these companies, they're not big operations. And if they are bigger operations, they already know what they're doing. So I'm really
Yeah.
going to talk about like the small, medium-sized company,
Yeah.
the guy that's out on the job site, that's in the trailer, that's going to the networking events. You know, not everyone can hire a Liz Webster, I
Yep.
guess, to do that follow-up for you. But finding a system, whether it's every day for 10 minutes, for that 10 minutes before you get your day started, log into Blue Book, log into whatever site you use, and take a look at what's there, and mark it so you can come back to it later on. So now at least you've dog-eared it, or you've printed it, whatever you want to do, and you have that job. And then look at it and follow up and let the estimator know, hey, we received this project. I'm going to take a look at it, but just wanted to let you know we're reviewing it. And if there's something you need from us while you wait to hear back, whether it's a pre-qualification form, or if you need a reference, I think giving that GC that initial warm reception of,
100%. It's
it's
such
not
great advice.
right. It's like, maybe it's not their project, and maybe you don't even do that project, but you've given that warm reception. They know that you're a real person that received this project.
I've never had a subcontractor offer a reference like that before. And
Oh,
that's like the
Recon, we do
greatest
it
idea I've ever
now.
heard. What's that?
We do it at Recon.
It's awesome. It's because it's like it's it's such a powerful statement. It's like, hey, um
Proof in the pudding.
yeah, like I'm gonna lead with it. I'm gonna lead with the thing that's gonna mean the most to you, which is it's somebody else vouching for us, which is
Yeah,
word of mouth is everything. Somebody
absolutely.
somebody if you talk to somebody that you trust and they recommend somebody, you're always going to not, I'm going to say always, but let's take price out of the equation.
You're gonna pay
I'm going to
attention
give
to them.
business to them first for sure across the board. If I trust somebody and I ask them, hey, I'm looking for a good painter for this location because I don't work there a lot, and they say this is your guy, like that's the guy. I mean, it's theirs to lose. Put it that way.
Right,
Um,
absolutely.
yep,
I think every contractor should have a standard pre-qualification form filled out.
yep,
And you don't have to include your financials, but maybe your last three biggest projects in the last 3 years.
yep,
How to contact you. It's contacting me, but maybe you want to talk to Amanda in the office.
yeah,
And what is her role? She's the estimator. What is my role? What is Don's role? So that way okay, this is who I need to talk to about this question. And it's just attaching like a PDF of how to get in touch with me, and who we are, and GCs that we've worked for, because we work for some really great general contractors now that if we threw out the name Donnelly, everybody's going to know Donnelly Construction or
yep,
Construction Technologies. Like, these are big players, and we're proud of the work that we've done. And I think as a subcontractor, be proud of what you've done. I think a lot of the times, from my experience in talking with contractors, is everybody's kind of scared that someone's going to take something from them. I don't want to share that because I don't want them to whatever it is.
yeah.
Um,
It's usually an irrational fear. Like
exactly.
the jobs aren't secrets.
Right.
Yeah.
We're all in this big sandbox together,
Right.
and play nicely, and everybody will do well.
Right.
It's the contractors that don't want to share, or that are under the table, that it's like, you don't have to worry, because very quickly your name will get out and the reputation will get out as well.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I would think anybody that wants to be successful, starting with a follow up, hey, we received this, having a pre qualification form, and then LinkedIn. So my secret sauce on LinkedIn. is I know as a subcontractor who the GCs are that I want to work with. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build out my profile, because if anybody's going to come look at me, I want them to know who I am, how to contact me, and what I'm about, right? Then I'm going to go to all those general contractors that I want to work for, and I'm going to connect with them, and I'm going to follow them, and then I'm going to see who the people are that I want to connect with there. And then I'm going to engage with posts. If I see Montana is sharing a new post and it's a project that you're really proud of, I'm going to say, wow, that's a fantastic job. Please keep us in mind for the next one you get.
Awesome. Yeah,
Because now
absolutely.
I've posted, you posted it, I've commented, and you're like, well, Liz, click on her profile,
Yep.
and now you're connected with me.
Yep. Yeah, and for the GC, I'm like, okay, I respect that. Somebody putting themselves out there and saying that, and then you start to get on the radar.
Right. And
It's
it's never, you don't have to overcomplicate things. You don't want to ever, ever, ever come off with a sales pitch in your
no,
message.
that's the best advice. Also, yeah, listen. I don't like to be sold to. Okay,
No,
I
nobody
just don't.
does.
I like to be. I like somebody pitching. I like to be pitched to. I don't like to be sold to. And I think
Right.
there's a pretty big difference. Everybody's just so tired of the spiely sales stuff that's been flying around for the past 30 and 40 years that, when guys walk in here with a pencil and a pad and hey, blah, 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 I'm like, can you get the fuck out of here, please? Like, I'm busy and I don't really want to listen to you. You didn't connect with me before you started to talk about your company. It's
Yeah.
repetitive. It's not tailor fit, and it's just not received too well,
Right.
But
Know who you're going to talk to. I mean, if they
yeah,
are going to come into you, do your research on the general contractor, because you could sit down across the table from one, and like you said, they're only doing high end residential and you only do industrial. Well, now you've just wasted everybody's time,
yep,
because you're not a good fit for each other.
100%. I start off extremely cautious with subcontractors, right? So if you say to me, hey, I have a sub I'd like you to talk to, immediately I'm like, okay, but I'm like, all right, I need to, we put a lot of trust in our subcontractors.
Yeah.
These are the guys who are actually doing the work on the job. You understand what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like, they
Mm-hmm.
are the people who make projects a reality and a success for us. And all it takes is one bad sub to not do their work correctly, not order the right materials, or not show up when they
Right.
say they're going to show up, and it deteriorates our success and our progress and
Yeah.
our reputation and
Yeah.
everything else involved. So we're really careful about who we work with. So I tried to think a little bit before we spoke, how do people break through to us, and what does that look like? And what I came up with was, so we use something called Building Connected to reach
Mm-hmm.
out to subcontractors and get pricing. Um, one of the purposes of the platform is that you can reach out to people outside of your own network based on proximity to the project or based on proximity to where those subcontractors say they're willing to travel to. Those are the two parameters. And so we send out invitations to bid to subcontractors who we've never dealt with before, heard from,
Right.
most of which don't really respond and try to engage and have much of a conversation, which I think that they should.
That's that casting the net. And that's,
Absolutely.
I mean, and unfortunately, as a GC, like, you're saying using Building Connected because it gives you that flexibility of who receives it,
Yep.
but you also aren't fully excited about it either because you're not going to get a response.
Yeah. So if if I'm doing a job, maybe that's not in my backyard, and I invite 11 drywall subs, I'm going to get one price,
Yeah.
or two prices.
I used to say 30 and you'll hear from 3.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly right. So so I have somebody here, Ines, who one of her positions is, we call her vendor manager, right? Because she's really good at engaging with subcontractors and actually wants to create these relationships with them, and people like to talk to her, and she
Yeah.
wants to hear from them, and she has
Yeah.
more patience and stuff for that than I do. She's just better than it than I am. And she actually likes to make calls, which
Yeah.
seems to be a pretty daunting task for anybody in that sort of position the bid clerk or
Yeah.
the junior estimator or whatever position you want to call it,
Yeah.
it gets
Project
daunting after a
coordinator.
while. For her, it doesn't, because she likes to talk to
Yep.
people. So that's really good for us, and that's been really beneficial for us. What happens is when people are bidding multiple projects, she knows how much goes into the estimating because she watches us do it, and she knows I'm
Yeah.
heavily involved here doing that. And so we have a tremendous amount of respect for the time, money, and resources that go into estimating. And when somebody bids like a couple of jobs for us, I hear about it.
Yeah.
If somebody's really easy to work with, I hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, my advice to subcontractors, if I had to give them, one program to try as the guy who gives business to people, and it's my decision, is when somebody reaches out to you, I think you should engage with them. You should make it quick, but you should lead with like the self-respect of, hey, this is who we are. We got your invitation to bid. Um, We'd love to work on this for you. If we have any questions, we'll reach out. And if you don't mind, if you can give us feedback on our pricing, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
So there's like a little business deal going on there,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I have no problem doing that at all. So they bid a job, and we're moving fast, right? Once we send our proposal out for that job, it gets moved to pending. We know we have to follow up in terms of business development, but we're on to the next thing. We're not
Yeah.
sitting down, relaxing, going, okay, let's look at all the subs who bid the job for us. Let's give them a call. And that's not happening.
No.
So you have to figure out a way to stay in contact with these people and stay in contact with the general contractors that you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to bid to, while without being aggressive or annoying or high maintenance. Make sure that it's known, like, hey, we bid 5 jobs for you guys. Like, as long as we get some feedback, we're going to continue to invest in this relationship.
Yep. Yeah.
So
I mean, that's essentially what I'm doing now. It's important to us, here, at Recon.
yeah,
We've got really strong relationships, and we're growing at such a wonderful, speed and scale, but, we want to maintain the connection. So, if we bid to a general contractor, but it's been a couple of months since we heard from them, I want to reach back out and just remind you that I'm here.
yeah,
And, hey, let's grab a coffee and let's, has anything changed, anything new, or let what job we just finished, because again, I want to keep that connection, because I value the people that give us business.
yeah,
And that's the pivotal part is, subcontractors want to work for the general contractor. GC wants to hire the good sub, but you've got to maintain that connection.
definitely, absolutely. It's really easy to not stay on our radar. We have a lot of pieces
Yeah.
moving around.
And I
20,
think
30 trades a project that we bid. So it's
yeah,
a
and
lot.
subcontractors get like hurt. Like I bid and I didn't hear back from the GC. I mean, I think it can go without saying, right, Matt, that the subcontractors are saying, "Hey, we received your bid." Is it possible ever for the GC to, and I guess this is a question for you, to let the sub know, like, "Hey, sorry, we didn't get this job." Or
Yeah. I've sent mass emails out for some of the projects that we've
yeah,
lost. But it just doesn't become a procedure that's implemented.
yeah,
Maybe
but
just because
nowhere.
there's just so many other procedures to implement and so many things. Okay, then when this happens, we do this. It's just,
Yeah,
we're always looking forward. We're not looking backwards. It's just, you don't
right.
have any chance to look back. And so we're getting
So busy.
stuff, but nobody's saying it's that type of interaction. Even with me having somebody in that position of like a
Mm-hmm.
vendor manager when Joy's doing it, it's not happening.
Yeah,
So you guys have to make it happen as a
yeah,
subcontractor.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, yeah, there was one subcontractor, a company called Ryder Painting that we started working with recently. Two
Okay.
young guys, really hungry. They had bid a bunch of jobs for us, like a wave of jobs, and those jobs just didn't end up happening for us.
Mm.
But they kind of, they made it known in not a whiny way, that like, hey, like we bid a lot, we're still here. They're like, and everybody liked them, and it became a point where I told my whole office, like, guys, like the next painting job
Yeah,
goes to them. Okay, so that's that's what's going to happen here. And so that's the point that you want to get the subs to.
Absolutely. Keep at it,
Yep.
and especially if it's a GC that you want to do business with, you know, take them out to lunch. I don't know, stop by, for, do something. It's uncomfortable, and I get that, and that's why people don't get into sales is because there's a little bit of uncomfortableness. I mean, I didn't know you before I walked in your office.
Yeah.
I just knew I wanted to know you.
Yep.
I think I might have left something behind.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's that.
Yep.
And then I think we even featured you in the magazine, Montana.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
And
Yep.
that was because I pushed for it. I said, this is a GC that, we need to have our subcontractors know about.
Yeah.
Um, so,
So for
yeah,
me, and not, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But for me, and everybody's different, right? Like I don't want to be taking the lunch or anything like that. I want you to show me your skill,
yeah,
and the estimating process is the opportunity to do that. If you bid a job and you're seeing maybe things that don't make sense on a plan and don't jive on a plan, call those out. Give me add alternates. Give me deduct alternates. Tell me like, hey, like the drawing is missing this crucial component that we can't just say is not included. We know it's going to become an issue during the job, so we gave you a price below the line as an add alternate for that item. I suggest you go in on your bid doing the same. Those type of things. Like if somebody does that for me, I'm like, all right, locked in. Like I trust you. You're looking
that's
out for
so
me. You're an
funny.
ally.
So funny that you said that because this is a new side of business development, new side of client management for me.
Yeah.
Is working for a subcontractor, and I'm working really closely with our project manager, who essentially is always involved in the contract proposals, and um, I'm becoming the face for RECON. So she'll send me an email and say, Liz, we're missing the structural drawings on these. Or, I don't see that XYZ was added here. Let the GC know that we're putting in an add alternate. And these are things that I'm not really too familiar with. So
Yeah.
I guess you can teach an old dog new
Yeah,
tricks,
for sure. You'll figure it
because
out.
I'm
Yeah.
still learning about this. And it is instantaneously that the general contractor is getting back to us and saying, we got one last night at 10:30 p.m. or something like that, 9:30 p.m. A GC thanking us for giving such a clear and detailed proposal.
Yep.
He's like, it's few and far between that we're getting these anymore. I mean, we put in stuff for the traffic control devices if we're going to be clearing land on a roadway or something. It's like
Yeah.
things that that's not involved in us, but we're going to put it in towards our budget for you.
Yep. Yep. Listen, for a general contracting estimator who has to move through all of the trades, most of the time site work is one of the least skilled areas of that estimator. Site work's really challenging to estimate.
Yeah.
I for me, and I'm sure maybe people disagree, I think site work is the most difficult trade, and then maybe like electric, outside of just counting points and stuff like that.
Right.
But when it gets to be a little meaty, and there have been a lot of times that I do my takeoffs on site work based on what I see and what I understand, and then I don't know how to do a cut and fill analysis. I don't have the software to do that, and I don't know how to do it. So
Yeah.
I'll come up to like $300,000 in site work, and then I get a price of $460, and 80,000 of that is exporting fill because there's no place on the site to leave it, and you need to. It's
Yeah.
just there's things that we don't see that if we don't get that price from a site work subcontractor, we have major issues, and that's the first trade on the job.
Right.
So that creates a lot of complications because for a GC, if you underbid site work, you're starting the job in a cash flow negative state because
Yeah.
you're getting paid 100,000, you're paying out 130,000 if you're 30% low on your bid. So site work is a really, really tricky trade, and the more help and hey, just want to give you this warning, this may occur type of stuff that you can give to your GC. Once you establish that trust, they're not going to go to other people because you're going to be afraid. I'm gonna be like, I don't really want to go with this guy at 350 if those guys are at 400 and they're pretty competitive, and they're not the cheapest guys in town, but they're competitive.
Yeah.
And they saved my ass last job because I wouldn't have carried that. Once
Yeah.
that happens, I'm not using 350. I'm not doing it. I'm
No.
going with the safe guy. So, hopefully that advice is good and you could take that back to Don and
It is.
yeah.
I mean, but it's not. It's something that he practices,
Yeah.
and that's something that like he, it's a new person, right? It's a new company. I'm learning a lot. I'm learning about this side of the world, industry specifically like earthwork, and but I'm also learning a lot about a new person,
Yes.
and this is Don and I have known each other for almost 10 years now. But in this capacity, when I ask him, I'm like, why Recon over why somebody else? And he's like, because we get how did he put it? Said, like, we're there 6 out of 7 days. Our guys, we work all weather conditions. We make it a point to be ahead of schedule as like the normal, like not like, hey, surprise, we've done this ahead of time. He's like, if if the super the job site super says to me like the guys are complaining because you're working them too hard, he goes, it's like I smile
Yeah. Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
know that means that you're happy as the general contractor and that my guys are happy because we're getting the job done and we're doing it right.
Yeah.
And to hear from his story and why he's grown this business to the scale that he has, and it's a credit to the hard work that he puts into it.
Of
So
course.
it's a
Absolutely.
very cool like I'm definitely vibing. I'm digging what he's doing, and I'm learning a lot. I went to an in-person meet and greet with him with a general contractor, and I thought I would be the one to do most of the talking, but when you get a business owner to that has passion,
Yeah.
I mean, he just like I wanted to go like build something myself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because he's like, I love earthwork, and and he gets it. And he's definitely the right contractor for these big jobs that he's been working on. Everybody's so happy with him.
That's great. That's great. So, subcontractor or general contractor, business development person, what's one key piece of advice that you can give in terms of how you structure your time or just how do you what approach do you think that people should take to give them the results that they're looking for?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think it's like building a building. I think there has to be a foundation. I think before you can really get out there and start doing business, make sure that we're getting our website redone. So if you go to the website now, it's under construction, but I want to make sure that it's the right face. It's the present day recon construction.
Yeah.
So making sure that you get your social medias, because social media, everybody, it's not going to be a surprise, is not going anywhere,
Yep.
and it's free advertising. And if once you start making those connections, people want to see it. They don't want to see text. They want to see videos.
Yeah.
They want to see pictures, especially if it's industry specific. That's eye catching. And contractors, this are very busy. So I try to post. I'd like to say 3 times a week. Sometimes I get a little busy, but at least once a week to 3 times a week, I'm posting something on social media. It could
Okay.
be about Construction Safety Week. It could be about a retaining wall project that we've just done. But I want to at least, because the way these algorithms work is the more you post and the more interactions you get with it, the higher you're going to appear and relevant.
Yep.
So I do that. That's part of my day. Part of my day is also just following up with proposals that we've sent out. It's very hard. And I know a lot of contractors think that they have it all up here, but you lose, I'm going to say 50% of what you put up here to remember to do.
Absolutely right.
So if you're old school and I'm not good with computers, so many contractors are not good with computers. You guys are a bunch of liars.
Yeah.
But if you're not good with computers, get a pencil and get a pad and write down who you need to call.
Yep.
Put it on a calendar and do it. Don't just put it there and then don't do it. Make the phone call. Don't send the email. If know your audience though, if your GC might say, hey, I only want emails. Okay, well then that's only emails. But I think getting a system of staying organized so that way nothing, falls through the cracks. I'm just using Outlook right now. So I'm not doing anything fancy. I don't have, a $20,000 CRM we're using. It's just me. Maybe down the line I get there, but I don't need it right now. But
Right.
I have tasks I need to follow up with every single day. Follow ups I need to do, social media posting. And then I'm going to start going. You're going to see me out again live. I'm going to go to some association events. I
Nice.
was at the Blue Book event what was it? No, April 22nd. I went to the brothers that do gutters in Poughkeepsie.
Mm-hmm.
They had an event that was hosted by the Blue Book. I met Unicorn Contracting there, and we've submitted our first quote to them.
Nice.
And that's because I was there.
Yep.
I met them. I got to talk to him. Same idea. He didn't know who I was, and he really didn't know RECON. But I followed up with him. I gave him our qualifications statement. He gave me a project, and now we'll, fingers crossed, see how that goes.
That's great. That's
So
great.
that's how I do my day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where can people find you, and how can people get in touch with you?
So you can always find me on LinkedIn, and it's Liz Webster. I always have glasses because I think I look cooler with
Yeah,
glasses
you
on.
had a good post about glasses the other day, by the way. Yep.
So, and again, that was a silly post, Matt.
No, but those are good. You see, I remembered it.
I've got
You know
over
how many LinkedIn things
6,000
I look at a
impressions.
day? Yep. It's humanizing.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's more to it than just a silly post, you know.
And there was a company I worked for after Blue Book that didn't really appreciate that only wanted the marketing posts. And the only people that engaged with the marketing posts were the marketing people.
No, humanize as much as
100%.
possible. Put
I'll
yourself,
always
put
stand
Don out
behind
there
that.
as much as possible. People want to know who they're doing business with.
Yeah.
And people want to do business with people that they connect with and that they have shared values with. So you might miss some people, but you're going to gain more, or at least the same amount of the type of people that you're gaining right now, putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
I think that makes more sense personally.
Yeah.
Yep.
So LinkedIn,
Yep.
and then my email is l.webster@reconconstructionco.com. And my number is 914-282-4389.
Brave putting your number out there to my millions of listeners right now.
My number is out there. My number has been the same for 20 years. And you know what? I actually just gave a referral to my old colleague at Blue Book from a contractor who found me, another contractor that was a customer of mine said, you got to call Liz. She's at Blue Book and she's going to connect you.
Yeah.
And I haven't been with Blue Book in over 2 years. So
awesome.
My number will always stay that way. Go ahead and spam me, people.
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this. This was great.
Thanks, Matt. This was great.